Hello everybody, welcome back to a new video. As you can see, my hair is a mess. This is the same day as I'm making the video of the transmission and differential fluid. I decided to actually make my drift button install a completely separate video because I don't see any information of this online. Everybody, look, it has the drift switches, not the drift buttons as videos. So I wanted to do the drift button and drift switch actually in the same video. So that's what we're gonna be doing in this video. Now, we're gonna go ahead, go inside the car, and I will begin to show you guys how to get this installed. Now I got this drift button from GK Tech. I have not seen any tutorials online on how to get this drift button installed. Now, I know that there's a spring that you probably have to remove, as well as the actual button itself, because it does not go over the OEM button. So we're gonna first take off the OEM button. It's just a pull off, and then you're good to go. We're gonna go ahead and see how to take this boot off and how to go ahead and access the spring so that we can remove the spring so that we can then have the drift button installed. So I'm gonna go ahead and not recommend this because of the fact that you can stretch your e-brake cable, you can break your e-brake cable. This is a big risk that you're taking. Just beware. I am not responsible for if anything happens. Don't overuse it. When you're learning to drift, I would recommend more clutch kicking and throttle control over handbrake usage because it's just useful to have whenever you're in a sticky situation and you need to recover the car in any way to just easily be able to pull the e-brake instead of needing to push the button. Just pull, let go, it'll loosen itself instead of needing to push the button to bring it back down. So we're gonna go ahead and pull off the original button. So the button itself is self-explanatory, just pulls right off like that. And there we go, the button is removed. This is your other button now. All right, so I'm figuring this out with you guys. This is definitely gonna be a center console removal. So if you guys don't know how to remove the center console on these cars, you take this off. There's two screws holding in the center console up front. There's one screw under here, as you can see. And then there's two screws on either side of the seat down here in the bottom. And then it all just pops right off. There's not even, I think, any connections to it, unless you do have the model of the car with the buttons here. This should be your only button, so let's get to it. All right, so after you've taken off all the screws, there's one right here, the one that was here in the middle under the cigarette box, whatever you want to call it, and then there's one here and one here on the sides of the actual box itself, as you can see right here. Now we're gonna come in here, we're gonna take off these little pins right here. You can use a clip extractor tool for them, that's what I use. And then this whole thing assembly will pop off. Then we're gonna go ahead and lift from both sides. This is all loose now. Lift from both sides and pull this whole thing out. Okay, so I actually had to do research. I'm figuring this out with you guys, but I want to be able to make this video so that you guys can then find this afterwards. So I got a paper clip. You need any sort of metal wire. I'm gonna show you guys why. Let's go back inside the car. All right, so you're gonna take off this metal spring right here. And then with this metal clip, you're gonna feed the wire from down here into this hole right here. Once you do that, you're gonna tie it together. Let me go ahead and do it and show you guys. All right, so this metal wire is gonna go back here and you're gonna pull it out of the hole right there. All right, so kind of sketchy. This is why I don't recommend doing this at home. I've got right now a metal clip as well as a zip tie. Its purpose is when you push it down, it stays down. You can now use it as a hydro and it will not lock. Although really close and really scary, it will not lock and you can keep pushing down on it just to make sure. And then when you're ready to use it, you pull it back, and while you're pulling it back, it'll lock into place and then it won't go anywhere. So kind of sketchy, but it does work. And that's why I put the zip tie just in case so that I had more than one form of holding this down. It's a little sketchy, won't lie. Once again, you can see why this is sketchy. Two zip ties, and I'm pretty satisfied with that. If I were you, I would get a better metal wire than a paper clip, but this is what I've got to work with, and I think it'll work. And worst case scenario, since this car is a manual car, that can also be an e-brake. Although not recommended, it can be. So just to prove, push in, stays locked. When you want to use it, push out, locks. So it works. Dear God.
dude.
All right, now let's just go back and do everything you already did. Just this time it's gonna be with the drift button. So we'll slide this back on, push that in, make sure it slides in nicely, push this on, and there we go. Functional drift button. So anyways, just go ahead, put everything back, and you're good to go. If you are continuing with the install, just take this disclaimer, because honestly, it can be sketchy. It can, but I kind of like sketch, so we're gonna go ahead and keep it and see how it goes. Alrighty, and just like that, everything's put back together. I'm sorry for the fan noise in the background. It is very hot in Florida, but we've got the drift button installed. So push back, stays, use it. When you're done, push back up, locks. Now let's go ahead and get to the switch that everyone does on these cars, which is the pin 101 in 350Zs and G35s. Alright, so although completely not necessary, I like to remove as many things as I possibly can out of the way in the interior, so that I can have as much space as possible. Everything's usually held in by clips, as you can see by me just popping everything off. And then we gotta get to right there. If you wanna also take off the bottom portion of the glove box, there's only a screw right here that you have to take off, and then the whole thing just pops right off. And you've got way more space and access to this, which is where we're gonna be accessing today. This is the ECU right there. That's the pins. We need to get this off. Alrighty, so once you're in here, you're gonna wanna go ahead and pull back on all of this like wiring extra stuff right here. Oh my God, what do you call this? I don't know, just the tape that holds the wires together. You're gonna wanna carefully splice into that so you can go ahead and find the pin 101. You can also just like remove it from up here, but I don't really wanna touch this. So we're gonna go from here. All right, so a lot of figuring out has happened to get to this point so that I can go ahead and properly also understand it, but be able to understand it enough to actually talk to you guys. So there's this little cover that you're gonna have to push in, and then it'll pop right out. You're just gonna push it in, pop it out. It's a little aggressive. And then once you get to all these wires, you're gonna find the wire, the blue wire with the orange stripe on it, which if I can pull it out, I can see it. Here it is. That one right there. Blue and orange wire. There's gonna be a blue one with a silver point next to it. You're gonna want this blue and orange wire right here. Now, matters what you wanna do. I'm gonna actually just pull it out a little bit, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and de-pin it to verify first that this is the pin. And if it is, then we'll go ahead and continue. But let me go ahead and verify, because all right, so I cut back a little bit on the tape so that I could pull it back, and we've got the wire here so I can show you guys a little bit better. It's gonna have these silver points right here, as well as the orange line. Let's go ahead and cut this this wire. Alrighty, 3, 2, 1, cut. Whew, okay, let's go ahead and confirm if that worked. All right, so now this is really where you can decide what you wanna do. If you wanna just cut the wire here and put heat shrink and have it permanently off, you can totally do that. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run wire like this up to the center console I have here. And I'm gonna run a switch. I have a whole switch panel that I custom made. That's why I have so many wires up here. It's currently not installed because I'm reprinting it to have an extra switch for this. I'll show you guys once I get it out, but this is where you can decide. I'm gonna be running more wires because I really wanna have the switch so that whenever I'm driving on the street, I can go ahead and have ABS and traction control there to help me out. And then whenever I'm on the track, it's just flipping a switch and this is disabled. It's like the wires cut once again, which will allow me to go ahead and not have traction control or ABS. So let's go ahead, find some wire, kind of like this one. I actually really like this one. Similar gauge to what's on here, and let's go ahead and get the wire up here. Fortunately, don't need much. And I can tie it up with this too. Alrighty, so we've got one side of the cable here. Both connections are ready to go. We've got it routed, and now we've got the other end that we're gonna go ahead and combine to both of these. So let's get that started. I'm not filming this part just because soldering is really boring and tedious, and it's hard to get a camera in the middle of it when you already are struggling. So I'm just gonna go ahead and knock this out, and then I'll be back whenever I have everything wired up and show you guys. Let's go ahead, get the battery plugged in again. I need to get a new terminal, I know. And let's see if we get those lights. Gonna have to be when I turn on the car, huh? Okay, so I actually completely forgot to give this video conclusion. I don't know why I was making so many videos at once that I actually totally forgot to. So where I left you guys off was me putting everything back together. Now I've actually driven the car, I've done a couple things here and there. I can confirm the switch maybe works, maybe doesn't. When I press the brakes, it actually turns the button on, meaning it is functioning, which means when you do flip the button off, or the switch, it actually does cut off a circuit for the brakes. So something tells me it actually does work, just the ABS light doesn't turn on.